Her parents sent her off as a maid, yet the widowed mountain man returned her love. The moment the carriage door slammed behind her, Alara realized her life was no longer her own. The road to the mountain was cold and steep, and she had never felt so unwanted. A maid, she whispered to herself, her breath trembling. They sent me away as a maid. But she had no idea that the man waiting at the end of that road, broken, scarred, and determined never to love again, would become the one person who saw her worth more clearly than anyone ever had. Alara had grown up in a proud but struggling village family. Her parents weren't cruel, but they were desperate. Her father owed debts, her mother feared scandal. Their daughter, quiet and gentle, seemed to them the easiest sacrifice. So when the reclusive mountain man, Rowan Hale, recently widowed, asked the village council for help maintaining his remote homestead, Alara's parents agreed before she even knew the arrangement existed. They didn't ask her feelings. They didn't consider her future. They simply packed her bags and sent her away. Alara cried silently during the journey, staring at her raw hands and wondering how she would serve a man known for losing his wife in a landslide, a man rumored to speak to no one, a man who, some whispered, had a heart buried with her. When she reached the mountain lodge, the wind howled like a warning. The logs of the cabin were dark from years of weather, and smoke curled from the chimney in tired, thin ribbons. The door opened before she knocked. Rowan Hale stood in the doorway, tall, built like a man who'd fought life with his bare hands, and carrying a grief so heavy it showed in the lines around his eyes. He looked at her quietly, his expression unreadable. "You're the one they sent?" he asked. "Yes," Alara whispered. He stepped aside without another word. The first weeks were difficult. Rowan rarely spoke, and when he did, it was in short, practical sentences. Alara cooked, cleaned, carried firewood, and learned the rhythm of mountain life. She expected coldness, maybe even cruelty. But Rowan surprised her. He wasn't harsh, only wounded. He treated her with a kind, distant respect, and though he avoided conversation, he always made sure she ate enough, rested enough, stayed warm enough. Alara noticed how he repaired the loose shutter before the storms. How he chopped extra wood so she wouldn't struggle. How he left a lantern lit outside her small room every night. He thought she didn't notice, but she did. And slowly, the silence between them began to soften. One afternoon, while gathering herbs near the ridge, Alara slipped on loose shale. She cried out as she fell, and Rowan, who had been working nearby, reached her in seconds. He grabbed her wrist, pulling her back with a strength that startled her. For a moment, they stayed frozen, her trembling, him holding her tightly above the drop. When he finally pulled her to solid ground, he didn't let go right away. "Be careful," he said, but his voice cracked on the words. "I'm sorry," she whispered, shaken. Rowan released her slowly. "Don't apologize, I just..." He stopped, swallowing hard. "I couldn't lose someone again." It was the first time he had ever hinted at his pain. And the moment he said it, something inside Alara shifted. She realized the mountain man wasn't cold, he was frightened. Frightened of mourning again. Frightened of caring again. Frightened of feeling again. And without meaning to, she began to care for him too. As the weeks passed, Rowan began speaking more. Not much at first, simple things about weather, wood, the mountain trails. But gradually, he told her about his late wife, Mara. How she had been fearless. How she had loved the windstorms. How she had died too young. Rowan would stare into the fire as he talked, and Alara would listen quietly, her heart aching for a woman she never knew. "You must have loved her very much," she said gently once. "Yes," Rowan murmured. "And I never thought I'd have room for anything else." Alara smiled faintly. "Hearts aren't houses, Rowan. They don't have rooms. They just grow." He looked at her then, really looked, and something unspoken passed between them. But love never forms in peace alone. Word soon spread to the village that Rowan Hale seemed too comfortable with the maid they had sent. Rumors stirred. Alara's parents, ashamed of their decision and fearful of gossip, demanded she return home. A letter arrived ordering her back. Rowan found her reading it behind the cabin, tears falling fast. "They want you back?" he asked, voice tight. "Yes," she whispered. "They say it's improper for me to stay here." Rowan's jaw clenched. "Do you want to leave?" Alara shook her head, unable to speak. He took a slow breath, a battle raging in his eyes. "Alara, But he stopped himself, as if the words were too dangerous. It doesn't matter, she said sadly. They'll come for me tomorrow. That night, neither of them slept. Alara lay awake, thinking of everything she'd found in the mountains: strength, peace, purpose, and Rowan. She had never imagined loving anyone, let alone someone like him. But love had arrived anyway, quiet as snowfall. Rowan paced the cabin long after midnight, staring at the door as if afraid she would disappear through it. Just before dawn, he went to her room and knocked. "Alara," he said softly. "Come outside." She stepped out into the pale light, the world still cold and silver with morning frost. Rowan stood before her, breathing hard as if he had run a long way. "I've been a coward," he said. "I told myself I couldn't love again. That caring for you would betray Mara. But that's not true. She would have wanted me to live, not hide." Alara's breath hitched. Rowan stepped closer. "You aren't my maid," he said. "You're the person who brought life back into this cabin. Who made me smile again. Who reminded me I still have a heart." Tears filled her eyes. "Alara, don't go," he whispered. "Stay because you want to. Stay because I." She placed her hand gently over his. "I love you too, Rowan," she said. When Alara's parents arrived that morning, expecting to collect a silent, obedient girl, they found a woman standing tall beside the mountain man, her choice clear. Rowan faced them with calm, unshakable resolve. "She stays if she wishes," he said. "Under my protection. Under my care." Alara's mother opened her mouth to object, but Alara stepped forward. "I'm not property," she said softly. "You sent me away, but I found a place I belong. And I'm not leaving." Her parents, stunned, finally understood they had lost the right to decide her future. And Alara stayed. Seasons passed, and the cabin that once echoed with silence grew warm again. Alara and Rowan built a life filled with simple joys: firelit evenings, shared harvests, laughter carried on the wind. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was honest, healing, and earned. Rowan still visited Mara's resting place on the ridge, but he never went alone anymore. Alara stood beside him, honoring the past while holding the future. In time, the villagers no longer whispered about improper arrangements, they whispered about devotion, resilience, and a mountain man who found love twice in one lifetime. And Alara. She grew into a woman whose parents once cast her aside, yet she became someone cherished, protected, and deeply loved. Message of the story: sometimes life pushes us into places we never wanted to go. Sometimes, heartbreak leads us to the people who were always meant to find us. Love doesn't replace the past. It grows beside it, stronger and brighter than we imagined.